Generally speaking, you know what you're getting into before you even boot up a From Software game. It's going to be punishingly hard, it's going to be semi-roguelike, you're going to die a lot, and you're going to swear so much you'll invent brand new swear words. It's such a masochistically popular subgenre that it's no wonder many developers have tried to ape the core mechanics in an attempt to get a slice of that rage-inducing pie. But determining which are worth your time and money and which are just pretenders can be tricky. So we've rounded up 5 of the best examples available today. Number 5 on the list is Immortal Unchained. Developed by indie studio Toadman Interactive, Immortal Unchained is a far future sci-fi that attempted to subvert our expectations of a Souls game by adding guns to the mix. Despite some technical difficulties and the challenge of working with a lower budget, Toadman have done a decent job here, managing to inject some real atmosphere, as well as a few cool ideas. Sadly, its challenge comes as much from iffy balancing as from design, resulting in a slightly uneven experience. Still, Toadman's recent updates, as well as its overall likability, mean it's worth picking up if you're a fan of the genre. Besides, who doesn't want to run around like a roided up techno freak for a few hours? Number 4 is the Serge. The Serge is a game about a bunch of really angry robots getting upset about essentially being slaves to us squishy humans, and going uniformly nuts. As a result, it's probably the most grounded game on the list, if you can believe that. Although you'll have to ignore the endlessly respawning enemies and the homemade mech suits, of course. While it's easy to doubt the likelihood of a human smashing robots to death with bits of scavenged iron and steel, the Serge is actually a pretty polished experience, barring a few rare bugs that will kill your progress completely, if you happen upon them, of course. As sci-fi action games go though, it's actually pretty enjoyable. It just doesn't quite capture the magic of the titles it's aiming to replicate. Number 3. Lord of the Fallen. City Interactive was one of the first brave enough to attempt to dip their toes in From Software's pool, as it were, with Lord of the Fallen, a pitch-dark fantasy about Harkin, a man with all of his crimes tattooed on his burly body as a reminder of his tragic quest for redemption. He's a miserable bastard for sure, but he's also pretty handy in a fight, as you can spec him in 3 very different skill trees that genuinely make you play differently. Although too short and not as clever or nuanced as From's games, Lords did come close to the crown for a while. Minor gameplay tweaks like being able to bank your XP so you keep it on death but earn less as a result switched up the dynamic just enough, and by God, some of it looked really nice. Number 2 is Salt and Sanctuary. Being a 2D action platformer reminiscent of something like Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Scar Studios' indie darling had everyone fooled. Until its release, when we all realised just how Souls-like it really is. Shipwrecked on a mysterious island and shit out of luck, your protagonists must make their way through the shadowed underbelly and across the monster-haunted surface, braving dark forests, deep catacombs and trap-filled dungeons in an effort to, well, survive. But it became apparent in mere moments that Salt and Sanctuary is every inch Souls-like, even down to the respawning enemies, dropping of XP and currency on death, and the timing-based combat. It was one of the best games available for the late PlayStation Vita, may it rest in peace, and the perfect example of an indie studio playing to its strengths. But number 1 on the list is Nioh. Doing Dark Souls in Japan before Sekiro was an itch in From's jockstrap, Nioh remains the best available Souls-like not actually developed by the progenitors. The story of Westerner William, lost in the shadows of an ancient horror story version of Japan, Nioh features copious amounts of Oni, lots of supernatural goings-on, spirit animals, and, of course, that old familiar death mechanic. If you're a fan of the genre at all, you really should have played Nioh. It's worth checking out just for its incredible combat, often bonkers art design, and undeniably confident swagger. So there you go. 5 juicy Souls-like to get your teeth into if you're struggling with Sekiro, or you're just an outright masochist who needs more games to walk up and down your ass while calling you a bitch. Enjoy. Now if you like this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and hitting subscribe. If you hated it, a thumbs down lets us know we need to do better next time. We do have a Patreon too, so if you want to support us, there'll be a link at the end of the video. I've been Mick Fraser for God is a Geek, and you guys have been lovely. Bye.